Pray silence for Susan FFL, first fruit of our loins. Great introduction.
Well, I'd just like to say wonderful to see you all here today, all friends of Kenneth and Barbara.
And relations.
And relations. And I'd like to say on behalf of Simon, Claire and I, thank you for being wonderful parents and above all, fantastic friends. You're great fun, and we hope that you have many, many happy more years with us.
Thank you, Sue.
So, to Kenneth and Barbara.
Kenneth and Barbara.
50 more happy years.
Mum and Dad.
Go for the century.
Certainly more than 45
Well, I didn't have this tonight.
You put it that way, but then bigger table.
Your parents are very accepting.
It's great.
That's great. Who did that?
Sorry, second one in from
I'm there. Well, on your another table, yes. I just cut them out for us.
coming out of one side. Bishop of Egypt, Ripon Hall, Oxford, and Bishop of Derby.
No romance.
Well, I got too good.
Well, not necessarily.
You used to say,
So they're going to come straight round to us. So I'm going to have Simon and Keith. Did Simon tell you we bought with us?
Harry, there's a pig.
He's a proper Hamilton.
Well, you didn't invite Hamilton, so somebody has to do it.
Mind you, everyone's
Our garden.
Usually like somebody else doing it. Where you got home. So, they cast a cloud. There might be a Ken and Barbara's wedding. And so Kenneth suggested I might like to say something today, but he said, for goodness sake, keep it short. I've always done what he has told me, but it does remind me of the story of the vicar who cut himself very badly while he was shaving. So bad he covered his face with bits of plaster. And going into church that morning, an elderly lady said, "Vicar, have you been in an accident?" He said, "Well, no, actually," said, "I've cut myself shaving. You see, while I was shaving, I was concentrating so hard upon my sermon." So she said, "Vicar, could I suggest that the next time you shave, you concentrate on your shaving and cut your sermon? So perhaps I should do the same today. But I'm often asked, how did all this come about? Where did Ken and I meet these two Langdon girls down in the depths of Kent? Well, we were students at a place called Braisted, a pre-theological college, before we went on to Ripon Hall at Oxford. And Kenneth arrived at the college in the January term. I'd already been there for one term, and attending church at Sundridge, which is where the Langdons lived and where the girls were in the choir, Kenneth, I didn't, spotted the girls, and he said to me, "We've got to get to know those two." And so the following term, a very bright Saturday evening, Kenneth said, "Let's go for a walk." I think somehow it had been prearranged, but they've never admitted to it. And so we walked past the Langdons' house. Barbara just happened to be at the gate, grooming the horse. Yes, grooming the horse. Just back from a ride. Marjorie, I think, was out playing tennis. But so we spoke to Kenneth and Barbara. I spoke to Barbara over the gate, and one of us, I think it was Kenneth, said, "Would you and your sister like to come out to dinner one evening?" "Oh yes," said Barbara, "I shall tell my sister when she gets back." So the following Saturday we went out to dinner. We walked to the village of Riverhead, where there's a very nice hotel called the Amherst Arms. Somehow I walked slightly ahead with Barbara, and Kenneth brought up the rear with Marjorie. But having got to the place, Barbara soon ditched me because she said, "He's far too old." "He's far too old," she said. And the return journey was, different. But of course, I have found it's the most expensive meal for which I've ever paid, because of course I paid for it, didn't I? He had no money. So it's the most expensive meal I've ever bought in my life, because it's landed me with all these years, you see. But however, we had the lovely wedding in Sundridge Church, the reception at Westerham afterwards, and so began this long married life, culminating in today's very wonderful occasion. Those of us who've been close to you over the years have watched and admired and been so interested in all that you've done. Not only with Kenneth's vocation, but Barbara's support and so on. And Kenneth, it's true to say, had he stayed in the Navy, I'm quite sure he'd have been chaplain of the fleet. Without any doubt. But Kenneth has not been a career priest. His has been a true vocation. And because of his vocation, family and parish meant so much to him. And so after his years in the Navy, as you know, he came out, became successively Vicar of Cradley, of Holy Trinity Malvern, Budley Salterton, and then at the cathedral. And I know it's true, again, that he's never ever looked for preferment. It's always been a surprise when any honours might have come his way, justly deserved, I might say, but this is absolutely true. And Kenneth, you have indeed, we were ordained on the same day, 50 years on Trinity Sunday, in fact. Kenneth has fulfilled his vocation in most dedicated and wonderful way. Supported all the way through by Barbara. She was the ideal clergy wife, but at the same time maintaining her own interests with her work for the library, her singing, her horses, and all that's interested her. And between them, they've enriched the lives of so many people. And one really cannot say more than that. They're immensely proud of their family, and justly so. Susan, Claire, and Simon. It's sad that Hazel and the grandchildren can't be here today, but it's wonderful, Simon, that you were able to come as the surprise. You were a surprise at the beginning, I think. But it's wonderful. And all that you've done, as a family, we on the fringes, well, not so much really on the fringes at times, have been so inspired and encouraged in our own way. And so really, I've been told to cut it short. We've had this wonderful meal, which has been absolutely first class, hasn't it? We've all enjoyed it. We congratulate you on your 50th wedding anniversary. We hope that some of us might be on Zimmers for your 60th, but we'll await events. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to raise your glasses and drink. We've drunk the health of Ken and Barbara, but I think on this occasion also we could combine it, don't you think, with Susan, Claire and Simon, because it's as a family we're celebrating today, not just the two of you, as a family for whom they've meant so much. So the Parry family.
Thank you.
Wonderfully said.
Thank you for your wonderful words, and it's beautifully spoken. I've got a few names written down here which I mustn't forget, and I'm getting on. But we first saw them across a not very crowded church as we were singing matins. It might have been the Te Deum or the Benedicite when I spotted them. I think it almost certainly was the Benedicite. Of all ye green things upon the earth, bless ye the Lord.
They weren't so green.
They weren't. We were. But in the end, Barbara and I were fortunate because we had at least several things in common. The first and uttermost was that we both came from loving parents with a loving home. And I like to think today of Bert and Edith and of Charles and Vi, who were present, of course, on that day, and are not with us now. But, you know, we've got a lot to be grateful for, as many of you thank God for the memory of your parents. We were also blessed with attractive siblings. Barbara with Marjorie, who had many boyfriends, 4 of whom I think were present at the wedding, all wondering which one of them was going to be fortunate enough to engage your attention later. And you'll see from the collage of photographs that the best man and the chief bridesmaids at our wedding were seen to be holding hands. So the hopes of 4 hopeful young men went down the pan on that particular day. We were blessed, as I say, with siblings. I was blessed with a kind brother who was a very dear friend. As for the wedding itself, I can remember very little. I was so terrified. The principal of my theological college was a very formidable man, and I was frightened to death of him. But I had, thank goodness, the support of the best man you could possibly have. One of Barbara's former boyfriends at the reception said to me, "I say, old chap, where did you get him from? Did you hire your best man with your Moss Bros suit?" Edward made a sensational address on that occasion and has enriched this occasion again. You might think that it was an appalling misfortune for the Langdon family to have 2 daughters, both of whom married clergymen. But there are 2 other ladies in the company today who've also made the same strategic mistake. Maureen Bate made the same mistake, and Monica, who was bridesmaid at our wedding, made also the same mistake. But they all did magnificently in their role as clergymen's wives. Not for them shutting themselves away in the vicarage and refusing to see anybody. They saw people, they looked interested, even when they weren't, and they fulfilled the role of a clergyman's wife, which in our day was so important, because without the support of a good wife who was kind and compassionate and welcoming, it was very difficult to exercise a really powerful or successful ministry. Ed and I both feel very fortunate, I think, in this, because of the ways in which our ministry has been enriched by Marjorie, in his case, and Barbara, mine, enriched by all that they've done for us. Taking, darling, there are 15 people coming for dinner on Thursday, that's all right, doesn't it? Or, do you mind terribly if we have the next PCC here tomorrow night? There have been occasions where I've heard warning signs. I remember Barbara once said to me in Malden, darling, do you think it would be possible, if you looked in your diary, for me to see you for I then began to realise it was very important to take a day off. So our lives were enriched not only by them, but then have been enriched greatly by so many other people who have become very good friends. The family, of course, for as far as we were concerned, was enriched beyond all expectation by Susan, by Claire and Simon. We never cease to delight because they surprise and entertain us so much. We think also of Nigel, Hazel, Georgie, Lolo, James and William and Eric and our foster son David, who can't be here, but we can raise a glass to them in a moment. We miss, I think, of all things, I miss the laughter which used to fill the vicarage every day. Not only the laughter, but the lovely music that used to emanate from their record players. I do miss it. I'm sorry Simon didn't take holy orders. Mine is never too late. But there it is. We had a wonderful family and we're eternally grateful to them. I always remember highlight of our married life was when I joined the Navy and I had a letter telling me my salary as a naval chaplain, which was substantially different from that of a humble curate. We danced around the drawing room singing "Life on the Ocean Wave" for £25 a week. However, later on, when I had to pay the mess bills for the likes of Tony Blowfield, John Gray, and others, it wasn't enough. But it meant that we began our life, in our family life, we began to meet and draw into acquaintance some wonderful friends. Tony and Audrey, who are here, have been part of our lives for a very long time, and their lives and ours touch at so many different points. Vanessa, who has very kindly made the cake, which you're going to see later, was a deal when I left Barbara behind and went to Aden. She was very, very kind to Barbara. Jill, whose first husband, Bob, was a very great friend of mine and a church warden. And Jill found happiness again later after his death with Felix. And she too now is preparing for a wedding in York Minster. Slight step up from Sunbridge. A lovely prospect. At least we think it is. And then when we served at the Royal Marines, we were very pleased to meet John and Liz Gray, who actually got married in the same church, because Liz came from Sunbridge. They were married in the same church a couple of months or so after we married, by the same old rector, Harold Russell. And so it's interesting that we met up again. After so many years after Deal, we met up again when we came down to Exeter Cathedral. And so there are so many happy memories that we share. Malvern, of course, was a significant part of our ministry, of the children, of course, remember it particularly. And then we moved to Budley Salton. I don't think the children exactly approved, but we thoroughly enjoyed life at Budley Salton. We met David and Bunny Sykes, and whom we'd first come across at Cardrose many years ago, when David was a surgeon lieutenant in the Fleet Air Arm. We met Liz Cummings, who has been a tremendous friend and supporter, and Liz has very kindly supplied those lovely eats that we had before we came to the restaurant. And then we also met Maureen and Mark, who have welcomed us into the life of Ken and Kenford. Although they live in the posher part of the village, they actually show us great kindness. We're most grateful to them for the kindness they've shown us. Very good of them. And so, this is Barbara. Barbara and I both want to say thank you, not only for being here today, but for, sharing in this happy occasion. And thank you for enriching our lives. It's been tremendous. I just want to say to Barbara, thank you so much. It's been great. And I remember the immortal words of your mother, who often used to say, "I'm so glad I did what I did when I did it." And I want to say, with all the love in my heart, for all your forgiveness, for all your kindness and love, which constantly surprises me, I'm so glad I did what I did when we did it.
What else did she say when you were going off on your honeymoon?
Be gentle. As I think of your mother and her wonderful wisdom. Let's just remember all those who can't be here today. And each one of us remember our absent friends and our absent loved ones, wherever they may be. So, absent friends and absent loved ones, God bless them.
Not least because they include
Oh, you're going to blow the candles out? I think we must.
1, 2, 3.
Now, which way? This way. It does. It's quite soft, actually.
It's barking.
trumpets, drums and alarms.
Thank you so much.
All these otherwise probably things like they hear like school children.
They look as if they could have been the ones I was married to. They look so old.
Avert your eyes.